Hello and good evening, good morning, and wherever you are in the world. We're talking about the soft and system side to sales. And today, in particular, we're talking about sales issues and sales problems. And ironically enough, I've had all the challenges around the world today due to technology not working in the way it should be working. And sometimes you cannot rely on technology to make it work for you, especially when you're in sales. You have to have a creative head around you to make something that's worked. So, ironically enough, I've had to cancel the original stream twice, and now we're in the third stream. But we're here live to the world. So, you are very welcome, and you're welcome, Shay.
Thanks. Thanks after all that, Jason. You know,
Yeah, we got
talk
you.
about
We got you.
talk about and we're obviously going to be touching on problem solving in this conversation, and we needed to do some problem solving on technology. And it's a good point, Jason, about technology when it comes to sales, because I often like you talk about these CRM systems, and one of the biggest problems for me is that they do too much. There's so
Yeah,
many fields, so many features, so many benefits, and all you ever need is about 10%. So one of the things I do, Jason, is take my clients off the CRM, and we
yeah,
start building a sort of a pilot view in Excel of what we want a CRM system to do. And it's very rough and ready, but it's about understanding what do we need for our business with our customers and how we interact with them and our marketplace. And then we build those things that work for us. Then when we've done that, we build a set of requirements, and then we
yeah.
go back to the system to see will it do that. And then we sort of block off the other 80%. And sometimes the software can't do that. So they go into something else, something a lot
Yeah.
simpler.
And the challenge is, salespeople, as we know, and we're all salespeople, we're pretty lazy in respect. What we want to do is we want to go out there and sell. Admin is always a bit of a challenge. That's why we always have arguments with or challenges with accounts. And they're saying, well, you're not doing this right. And go, well, I have to get uh, uh, you have to go back to the client. Once you've closed the deal, you have to get the insertion order, then you have to get the PO number, then you have to get everything. But if you're not getting everything right and the signatures and everything else, then there's a challenge. Then you have to input it into the system, the CRM, and that causes another step. So the it's friction. If you make it as frictionless for the user, for the sales person, so they can do what they need to do, which is actively go out and sell, spend more
Yeah.
time actually out than on in the field. So the less friction that you can have, meaning the less touch points that you can have with the technology in terms of depending on what your job actually is, the better it is for you to just focus in on what works. And you're absolutely right. If you can make your CRM work with you,
Mm.
and I would suggest if you buy into a CRM, make sure that you get an expert in, like Shay or I or whatever, to map out the journey
Yeah.
before, because otherwise you just make things up and you go, oh, that's what they need, and they need this, that, and the other. But in reality, that's causing a lot of challenges and headaches a
But it
long term.
does, Jason. It's such an important point, because what happens is they see the shiny new software and they have a salesperson come into them and sells them how amazing this piece of software is. And it is. I'm not saying it's not. The problem is it's about finding the right tool for your needs, right? For
Yeah,
your requirements, Jason. And I cannot stress that enough. Anyone who's thinking about software, build your set of requirements on Excel first. Build what do we want from a lead generation purpose? What
yeah,
do we want from a messaging purpose? What do we want from a communication purpose? And then how do we all tie that together? How does
yeah,
it work? Always start with the process manually first.
yeah,
Always.
absolutely. I would
And
also suggest.
then
I was going
then
to say,
exactly.
mind map it out, see it on a board, like get a whiteboard, let's whiteboard it out, the journey. Let's put post-it notes around so the company can be involved, or the salespeople can be involved, and the marketing team can be involved in their area if they're using the CRM for their purposes. The accounts team can use it for their purposes for invoicing, and hopefully there's a seamless, hopefully there's a seamless link between them all.
Yeah, and that's it. So don't go to the cart before the horse, as I say. Build your requirements, then see what's there. You know, and the thing is, Jason, everyone gets lost in these shiny new pieces of software, and they can do 1,000,001 things, but you only need 10 things if you map it out. Really and truly, 10 things done very, very well. And if you do those 10 things, then you'll be much more effective. Because CRM, Jason, right? If you think of before there is a thing called software, we still had CRM. It's called customer relationship management, right?
Yeah.
That was a process where you spent 80% of your time in front of a customer. Now people are spending 80% of the time behind a computer. That's not what it should be. It's about face to face. And I'll tell you now, Jason, of all the things, from my own experience and working with my customers, the old stuff works best. Absolutely. Yes, there's funky stuff you can do with marketing and all the data you can get, but the old stuff works. And there's a reason why it works, because it's all about building that word relationships. You can't do that behind a computer.
Yeah, no, you absolutely can't. And you need those touch points with the clients in order to build those relationships and that connection. But today's really about the sales problems that we all have, maybe behind the scenes. Maybe it's the productivity is too low, but that comes in cooperation with the CRM. Let's use that as the point. If you can tell as an overview level productivity, but then productivity, is it making results? So let's have a look back at what sort of productivity you're actually having. So within the systems that I've seen before, you should be able to see how many emails were being sent. If you've got clever artificial intelligence, you can actually look at all the buzzwords within the email just to see whether it's persuasive, influential, or whether it's relationship building or whatever. So there are lots of different clever things you can use today if they use it correctly to find out how productive the actual salesperson actually is. But at the end of the day, it still goes back to the same old things. Results. Are they selling enough? Is the bottom, is the gross profit or revenue, or however you're measured, is it above where you need to be for the month, the quarter, the year, or however you're targeted?
Yeah, and that's it, Jason, because there's a big difference. Like productivity, I think, is a very loose word. People love it, right? I'm not a big fan of it. I do use it, but I'm not a big fan because there's a difference between doing anything right and doing the right thing right. So that's the difference between efficient and effective. And nothing worse can happen than doing something well that does not need to be done, Jason. And I always talk about the difference between the streamlined, like systematic funnel as opposed to a bloated funnel. So, like I used to go in, one of the biggest problems I would see, Jason, with sales and marketing teams. And there, first of all, the big problem is there's a sales team and a marketing team. That's number one when it comes to lead generation, because lead generation is the first step of the sales funnel, right? So it's technically part of the sales process, but it's in marketing, right? But marketing and sales have got different metrics, different goals, different purpose, right? Big problem with that is marketing will go, we're going to generate leads, right? And then I'll go to the marketing team. So what's the biggest issue you have? And they go, we give sales all these leads. We don't hear back. We don't do anything about them. We don't know what they're doing. Then I go to the sales team, Jason, and I go, what's your biggest problem? We get all these crappy leads that we can't do anything with. And then the first thing I say is, well, do you ever talk to each other? You know, break down those barriers, define that word lead together, what it means for your business, in your industry, with your marketplace. What does that word lead? And that's not a one size fits all, Jason. And if you were to ask me what the definition of lead is, I can't tell you until I go work with a company, or even if it's for myself, I can't tell you what that means until I actually learn about my marketplace, my customer pain points, there's so many variables. So you have to really work hard. And that definition, that lead does not stop. It keeps going until you've mastered your funnel. It doesn't
Yeah.
stop, because it gets, there's multiple levels to that term lead, and people don't understand that. Is it a good, first of all, can you convert? Do you think that you can convert that customer? That's number one. Then do you think, will that customer be a win-win customer, where it wins for you and you win
And
for them?
yeah, of
There's
course.
different levels. So it's not just about getting hot lead. Is it a hot lead that can give you good business that works well for your business? So there's multiple levels to that word lead. And that is the biggest, one of the biggest problems I see. And it's at the very start of the funnel, Jason. They don't pay that enough time about definition. And people, as I said, people ask me what that means. I don't have an answer. You only
Yeah.
find that answer as you start doing the do, and put a process around defining that word lead.
As you speak to the customer from that lead, is it where did it come from? Where did the lead come from? Is it marketing incentive? How hot the lead is? What people are actually saying within the email or the lead or the phone call or whatever. I've been sent down loads of rabbit warrens before. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm interested. But really, in reality, they're just fishing. I remember when I was about 5 years ago, I was working with a tech startup and I was away, and I got a phone call in the US. This guy was saying, "Got to meet you, got to meet you." I was going, "Well, I'm away. Like, I'll meet you when I'm back." And I pushed him back, and then I eventually met him, and he was just fishing. He was doing something similar, and he was just
Mm.
fishing for information. I said, "Well, why are you meeting me if you're doing the same thing?" "Oh, I want you to be a supplier for our technology." "Oh, okay. Well, do you want to buy something then?" "Oh, no, not now." So I just had to really push him back. He was so insistent that he wanted to meet to buy some products, and I was going,
Mm.
"Well, I had to push it back in the end. It just really wasn't one of those things
Yeah.
when you think it's a hot lead, and in reality, it's not. So as you say, it's time wasting. Then you have to look for alternative things, which is more on the priority list as opposed to the bottom part of
Well,
it.
that's it,
And you
Jason.
have to work that out.
And that's alive. That's a continuous iterative process. It doesn't stop, because what you think is a hot lead and what it is can often change. And by the way, there's nothing ever bulletproof in this, Jason. All you can do is develop your criteria for what you believe a lead is, and a good lead that you think you can create a relationship with. Because as we always say, the most expensive sale in the game is starting from scratch. You
Yeah,
know, so you
yeah,
want to make sure you can grow a lead and turn them into a customer, and then help them turn them into an advocate going forward, so they can sell on your behalf without you asking for it, right? So that is the, but Jason, again, the other problems I see along the process is that people not improving the effectiveness of the funnel, right?
mhm,
Like, again, when I started my process, the only thing I heard about sales was the 5% rule. Make 100 calls, get 20 meetings to get 5 sales, right? By the time that's a 5% conversion rate, right? Really, when you think about it. By the time I finished optimizing my own sales process for my own business, I had it up to above 70 odd percent, 75%. At one stage it peaked at 81, because I learned the value of nurturing and optimizing every part of that step. So once I focused on the mini conversions, as I said before, I broke my sales process down to every micro step, Jason. So I learned anytime I was hitting a hurdle, I said, what do I have to do differently at this step to make sure I get to the next one? Is literally
yeah.
step by step. Now, it took me a year to build that, Jason, but by the end of it, I didn't need new leads. I've got 7 customers, Jason, that gave my
So,
business all the business I need. Seven
yeah, I
customers.
think that comes with experience as well. So I've been on programs where a lot of people are new into the business, and they're not the people the sales managers or whatever not giving the support where it's needed,
Mm,
so they just let loose rather than helping them, nurturing them. This is a system process that works. I want you to have a look at it. I want you to adopt it to the way that you work, meaning your own personality, your own personal personality style. But there is a process, a 7-step process that you should be following unscripted, of course. Once you've learnt the terminologies and the acronyms to help you move forward, and the technology and all of that product knowledge, then it comes down to being credible when you're with a client. So that another thing that goes on to that is for sales organizations, and I think everyone just has sales organizations, is sales anxiety,
Mm,
frustration, um, high turnover of teams, and not providing the right training or coaching within the organization to help them flourish. And I don't mean this bullshitty, excuse my French, training just for training's sake. Going, well, we need training because the team's not performing. Well, let's do proper training needs analysis here to really find out the fundamentals, the reasons why they're not selling, rather than just ringing up over the phone and go, "Oh, I need your training. What's your off the shelf?" I don't know what the off the shelf is, because uh, let me find out what it is you're actually looking for. So it's really to understand the needs, and this is the frustration of a lot of companies. They just want to sellotape something up, and then there's another hole appearing over there, and another hole appearing over there.
mm.
And you're not actually going in to find the actual certainty of the actual problem that the sales team is facing to actually help them. You train them, and then you do the follow-up training if needs be, and then you
Yeah.
set the systems up, and then you do the coaching.
But Jason, I had that exact situation where my client had poached one of the top people from another salespeople in another industry, right? And don't get me wrong, like he did come with a lot of contacts, Jason, but he was in a new sector, right? And after 6 months, his performance was very low, right? And they were going to let go of him. And I was going, look, have you taught this salesperson your way of selling? You know, he's come from a different industry. Not everything works exactly the same. And
Mm-hmm.
the customers have different expectations from not only a sales journey process, but also from a customer perspective
Mm-hmm.
as well. So, and that, the words I said to him, before you blame them, train them. You know,
Yeah.
train them your best way of doing sales for your company, work with them, give them time, and then you can make an informed decision. But they just put him out to the wolves. You know, they didn't sort of hone his skills, tell him what was important in this industry. Like, and I said, you can't do that. You know, things change, things are different, everything is dynamic in sales. So it's all I always say, train them before you blame them. And I think that's really crucial. And as you said, Jason, it's not just train them anything, it's train them your way, what works for your team. Discover
Yeah.
that. And I work with some of the big multinationals on this, and it's never one size fits all, Jason. Never
And
one size
also
fits all.
team dynamics as well.
Mm,
Are you there to support each other? Are you there as cohesiveness? Are you there working with the marketing team to actually help generate better leads? I know we spoke about leads a little bit at the time, but that's all part of sales anxiety. Like, you can just have months and months and months of just going, I just can't sell. It's exactly the same as what you've said, because I'm not getting the support needed to help me grow, learn. I might be the most experienced person out there in the world, but sometimes I might need a little bit of help along the way.
mm,
We can all learn, we can all grow, and it just helps us all the way through
yeah.
to just deliver the results that we were employed to do. And sometimes we just need that. So I think it's also about setting clear objectives, clear and crystal clear um, focus on how the team is going to be working together, how people are going to support, how we're going to share best knowledge and best practices. So I think we should all be working. I'm going to use a Star Trek analogy here as the Borg. And as the Borg, we're all plugged into each other. We all know
Yeah.
what we're
The
doing,
collective.
and we all know
Totally.
our territories and everything else.
But one of the biggest problems, Jason, I see in sales is salespeople are very individual. They don't work as that collective to share information, what worked well, what message was working well for their cohort of customers that can help them. Because they don't see it has benefit to them, Jason. But I've proven many times again when they work together, like they can actually do really well. They can get more sales from themselves because knowledge sharing can help you generate more business for your company.
Mm.
Another big one, Jason, for me, like leading on from this, is achieving targets. This is
Yep.
the biggest one for me. People feeling that their targets are overwhelming and cannot be achieved. And like, and when I've often seen sales managers come in and say, look, this is what the board has told us, we have no choice. And they absolve themselves from that message, which weakens them, Jason. They have to say, not only do I believe we can achieve it, but let's build the mechanism to do that. Let's work
Mhm.
together to do that. Take accountability, work with them, lead strong. And I think that is really important in sales. And I always say it, I feel sales is the most difficult element of business. And it's so important to lead by example and lead with progression
And I think
and
that's
move
where a lot
forward
of
with
the
it.
problems can actually happen is
Yeah.
maybe it's not the salespeople, maybe it's the leadership team. Maybe
Yeah.
that's where the problems actually lie, or maybe it's the communication down from the top, depending on the size of the organization. If it's a SME, as an example, and they have 20, 30 people in the organization and 5 to 10 people doing sales and the rest of them doing everything else. But they're the smaller organizations. They need to be working together as much as they can rather than going out and being quite individual. Like we all have our own egotistical ways of doing things, which is fine, but let's work closely together. Technology is here to help us, hopefully. And we did speak about that in brief. But we want to get out of that sales anxiety. We want to get ourselves moving forward. So if we have a really good leadership team, he should be setting up the internal coaching systems in there. The more experienced people that actually are selling really well can give good information about how they sell at the top of if they're doing 150%. There's a reason for them to do that. Let's find out why they're doing that and how they're doing that. Let's model their behaviors in a way, model their processes, and let's share the best practices for the team rather than going, no, this is mine. I want to do it. But you're not really helping everyone else share and grow. But it does take that growth mindset to actually do that. And once you give more than you receive, sometimes you can actually grow more.
Yeah. And I'd say probably the final biggest problem I see, Jason, right, um, is not adding value before the sale.
Yeah.
I cannot explain or emphasize enough the value of showing your cards, showing your hand with your customer to build that relationship. I always believe it's the sales reps um role first to show their hand, give them more than they've asked for, and then commit to doing what you said when you get to sale and then some.
Mm.
Continually beat their expectations before the sale.
Yeah. I always like to say, sit in their shoes, understand it from their point of view, understand the customer, understand them. So that holistic way of doing things, ask them some really great questions along the way. And I know we discussed that in previous ways, but again, it's another sales challenge. It's another sales problem to really understand that. So I think we've covered a wide variety of stuff today, and I really like this conversation. Once we got over our initial
Problems.
challenges, or my initial challenges, because I set it up this week with technology, but that led us seamlessly through into how technology can work for us or not, and how we can make a streamlined process, and what actually is the sales process and how we can apply it to a CRM.
Exactly. The CRM should complement what you're doing on the ground.
Yeah.
That's exactly the way it should be.
So, Shay, it's a wrap up for this week on the soft systems size to sales. That's easy for me to say. And next time we're looking forward to another installment. Like there can be lots and lots of different areas that we can discuss, even in just sales challenges or sales problems. But for next time, we'll wrap up for now, and we will speak next week, challenge free.
Please God. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, everyone. And see you soon.